In July 1971, as Lee Trevino stood over a crucial approach shot at Royal Birkdale, the cameras of the global press were zoomed in on his hands. Millions of viewers around the world watched the man they called Supermex swing with effortless precision, sending ball after ball piercing through the Scottish wind. But had anyone walked up to Trevino's bag and looked closely at his iron heads, they would have noticed something bizarre. Every single brand logo on the back of his clubs was completely covered with thick strips of black adhesive tape. One of the greatest golfers on earth was using a set of secret irons to win the biggest championship in the world, and he could not afford to let a single soul see who actually made them. To understand why a major champion was forced to disguise his own equipment, you have to look at the high-stakes world of sports endorsements in the early 1970s. Golf was undergoing a massive financial revolution. Multi-million-dollar corporate sponsorships were rapidly taking over the sport, and equipment manufacturers were paying star players fortunes to carry their gear. If a player was signed to a specific brand, they were legally required to play those exact clubs on television. To be caught using a competitor's irons on the global stage was a fast track to broken contracts, lawsuits, and financial ruin. Lee Trevino was one of the most bankable stars in the game. With his quick wit, working-class charisma, and legendary ball striking, commercial brands were eager to sign him. Trevino had secured a highly lucrative equipment contract with the Faultless Golf Company. Faultless was eager to market their new lineup of clubs to everyday golfers, relying on Trevino's star power to drive sales. There was only one problem. When it came to competing on golf's harshest, most unforgiving major championship courses, Trevino did not fully trust his sponsors' clubs. When a major championship was on the line, Trevino needed absolute perfection. He needed irons forged to exact tolerances, clubs that gave him razor-sharp feedback and predictable distance control in heavy winds. And he had found the exact set he wanted thousands of miles away, in a suburb of Sydney, Australia. The origin of these mystery clubs traces back to Alexandria, Australia, inside the manufacturing facilities of Slazenger. During the post-war era, Australia was quietly building a reputation as one of the finest club-making centers in the entire world. The raw clubhead forgings were produced at the famous Small Arms Factory in Lithgow, New South Wales. From there, they were sent down to Bowden Street in Alexandria, where master Scottish craftsmen Alexander and Sandy Fachney meticulously finished, ground, polished, and balanced each iron by hand. Fachney's attention to detail was legendary. When American stars like Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, and Gary Player traveled to Australia for exhibition matches and tournaments, they frequently made pit stops at the Slazenger factory. They knew that the precision coming out of the Sydney workshop was second to none. Nicklaus was so impressed by Fachney's work that he repeatedly tried to convince the master clubmaker to relocate to the United States to build his personal equipment. During one of his trips to Australia, Lee Trevino visited the Slazenger workshop and struck a set of Fachney's custom-forged irons. The feel off the club face was immediate and intoxicating. The sole geometry sliced through the turf cleanly, and the flight was lower and more penetrating, perfect for the severe wind conditions of European links golf. Trevino knew instantly that he had found a magical set of irons. He purchased the clubs, packed them into his flight case, and flew home. However, Trevino now faced an agonizing dilemma. He was legally contracted to Faultless, earning substantial money to showcase their brand name. Playing a set of Australian Slazenger irons openly on international television would breach his contract, but putting those Slazenger irons aside meant sacrificing his performance at the absolute peak of his career. Trevino chose a risky, pragmatic middle ground. He kept his sponsor's bag, but filled it with the Australian Slazenger irons. Then, before stepping onto the driving range at major tournaments, Trevino pulled out a roll of heavy adhesive lead tape. Methodically, he pressed strips of tape directly over the Slazenger name stamped into the back of every club head, completely obscuring the branding. If a photographer snapped a photo of his bag or a television crew zoomed in during an approach shot, all anyone would see was blank metal and dark tape. In July 1971, Trevino put his secret weapons to the ultimate test at the 100th Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. He was already riding an unprecedented wave of momentum, having captured the United States Open at Marion after an iconic playoff against Jack Nicklaus, followed by a victory at the Canadian Open just 2 weeks later. The Canary Toshman the Open Championship in the same calendar year, as the autumn winds whipped across the Lancashire coast, Trevino's ball striking was surgical. While rival players struggled to control their distance in the gusting sea air, Trevino flushed iron shot after iron shot directly on target with his disguised Australian blades. Over 4 grueling days, he held off Taiwan's Lu Lianghuan and Britain's Tony Jacklin to capture his first claret jug. The sporting world celebrated Trevino's incredible feat of winning 3 national titles in under a month. Virtually no one realized that the forged irons carrying him to victory were Australian imports with their identity taped shut. If you're enjoying this look into golf's hidden history and the secrets behind iconic equipment, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button. We bring you the untold stories and legendary gear battles that built the sport, and subscribing ensures you won't miss our next story. Now, let's look at how Trevino took these hidden clubs into an even higher stakes battle 1 year later. 12 months after his triumph at Royal Birkdale, Trevino arrived at Muirfield in Scotland to defend his Open title. The season had been chaos, with multiple projects closing on the Sebreth near the earlier Wangley. The sporting world was primed to see Nicklaus make history. Once again, Trevino walked onto the tee with his trusty set of lead-taped Slazenger irons tucked inside his bag, and once again his iron play was sublime. In one of the most dramatic final rounds in major championship history, Trevino produced a masterclass in short game magic and iron control. On the par 5 14th hole, facing a difficult lie off the green, he chipped in for an eagle. On the famous 17th hole, he chipped in yet again to break the heart of local favorite Tony Jacklin. Trevino shot a final round 70, edging out Nicklaus by a single stroke and halting the Golden Bears Grand Slam bid dead in its tracks. He had defended his Open title, captured his 4th major championship, and etched his name into golf immortality, all while playing clubs crafted in a small factory in New South Wales that officially did not exist on his equipment sheet. Eventually, the secret of Trevino's taped-up irons began to filter out among tour players and equipment collectors. The specific Australian club design that Trevino carried to back-to-back Open victories laid the foundation for what would later evolve into the famous Dunlop Maxfly Australian blade, one of the most revered classic iron designs in the history of the game. Lee Trevino's decision to hide his clubs was a masterpiece of tour survival. In an era where endorsement dollars were becoming mandatory for financial survival, Trevino refused to compromise on the tools he needed to perform under pressure. He respected his financial contracts enough to cover the logos, but he respected his own talent enough to hit the best clubs he could find. The story of those taped-up Slazenger irons is a powerful reminder of what truly matters on the golf course. Equipment companies may spend millions telling the world that their newest technology wins major championships, but when history was on the line, Lee Trevino proved that a champion will trust craftsmanship over marketing every single time. What do you think about Trevino's sneaky workaround? Was he right to hide the logos to protect his endorsement money, or should players be forced to play only what they advertise? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more untold stories from sports history.